Hey everybody, it's Peter. It's Thursday, which means it's Orville. And unfortunately, this is the last episode for the season. So tonight was episode 12. This was a bit of a tongue twister compared to disco episodes, which had these really long ones. I was surprised Orville had all these short ones, and they finally came up with Mad Idolatry. Just a quick note about the stories. Again, I will not try to spoil it too much. I will still be pointing out some things. But basically, if you've seen the Voyager episode called Gravity, where Tuvok and Tom get stuck on a planet that's stuck in some kind of a time loop. Not time loop, but when you go into the atmosphere, it has a weird field around it that actually everything progresses faster than it does outside the ship, and actually had Lori Petty in it. This one, sort of, the story goes the same way too, where they bump into a planet and the time frames are different too because it's a dimensional thing. And it's also very similar to TNG's episode, season 2, I believe, Who Watches the Watcher, where this I think it's pre-Vulcan civilization thinks Picard is the overseer. They're just minding their own business. It's a weird spatial anomaly because we're in a space show. So, hey, let's send out the shuttle. So it's Isaac, Gordon, and Kelly. And they're just flying along, minding their own business. Planet pops out of nowhere. It's like, what the heck? And they crash land. And because of the anomaly just coming up, it messed up the engine, so they're stuck there till Isaac and Gordon can fix the shuttle. So Kelly says, you know what? I'm going to take a look around. And she doesn't walk far. She comes to sort of a ravine of some sort, and she's down looking, saying, oh, look, there's a village of some sort. And just calls it back in, saying, hey, we found something here. I think it was Bronze Age civilization. Oddly enough, everybody's humanoid. When she finally bumps into somebody by accident, two kids are running around the woods, and she wasn't trying to be seen. She was actually close enough that the kids could have seen, but she stepped on a branch, snap. Kid shows up. One of the kids panics, falls down. So the little girl's got a gash on her forehead, and she says, no, don't worry, don't worry. And, does a quick little repair, and of course she does that. And then a bunch of hunter-gatherers show up around the corner, and they're like, "Rrr." And then she's like, oh crap, runs. Then it cuts back to the little girl going, Kelly. Right where I'm going like, okay, what do you call it? I'm thinking, okay, Who Watches the Watcher kind of thing. That sort of just popped in my head a little bit, just a little bit. And I was right because later on, that's how the episode goes. Because of her, and they also mentioned about the non-interference thing. So they do have a prime directive. They just don't call it that. They just say, you're not supposed to interfere with the culture. So she goes back to the shuttle, and then they go away, and then all of a sudden the planet goes, and they said, hey, what happened to the planet? And they figured what it is, it's a temporal dimensional thing where the planet is going in orbit around the sun, but there's some kind of dimensional rift that it goes through. And like in Gravity, in Voyager, instead of the planet always being in a temporal flux, because whatever the field that was surrounding the planet, this planet just seems to go in orbit, and every once in a while when it goes through a certain part of the orbit, it goes through and it hits a dimensional pocket. 11 days for, say, on our side, it's 700 years on the planet side. So, of course, when the planet pops back in again, it's 700 years planet time, and we start to see changes. And that's basically how the rest of the story goes. Ed does report it to the admiral. I forget who the admiral was again. It's a female admiral we had before. And he says to her, it's like, yeah, we found this problem, blah, blah, blah. You didn't do anything. Like, no, we didn't. He lied that Kelly accidentally, saved a hurt little girl. Of course, it's going to go. So it's totally south. So basically, beam down. Things have changed. All praise and all hail Kelly. So we're going with the God mode. Again, slight spoiler. There was talk about that we're going to lose one of our characters this week. We don't know who. I think it was on that visit when they figured, you know what, Kelly didn't, and Kelly was like, I don't know if she was losing sleep or whatever, but she was really upset that everybody's doing things in the name of her. And, it's almost like Spanish Inquisition when they saw the planet the second time because of, Kelly's going to get you. One of the kids is doing something, if you don't watch out, Kelly's going to get you. He's got caught stealing bread or something. And then these guys are like, strung up and, confess to Kelly that you did it. And Kelly will say yay or nay. So it's almost like, hey, you're a witch. Let's sew you up in a bag and throw you in the lake. This is the same thing, too. If you confess the truth or if Kelly comes down and doesn't smite you, that you're cool. And so we're doing the whole religion thing. So, what happens when religion gets out of hand or somebody says, in the name of, and of course they're saying in the name of Kelly instead of saying Muhammad or God or Jehovah or whatever, right? So So I guess this is one of Seth's little social commentaries, just like the one they did about sort of the Twitter mad planet. Yeah, so they figure the planet's going to come around again. Let's see what happens. And then the planet does pop up, and it's more, they don't say when, but we're saying it looks like 20th century TV broadcasts. So you got an evangelist, by the power of Kelly, you will be saved. News thing about, like a CNN thing about, well, if it wasn't for this, it wasn't for that. And well, if kids don't want to worship Kelly in school, then they should go to the public schools instead of the private schools. She wants to do something to fix this. And then they have a powwow in the briefing room, and it's like, okay, what are we going to do? And Kelly's like, no, I'm going to go down. I'm going to fix that. But Ed's like, yeah, well, then we won't see you. You'll be dead on the planet. And Isaac goes like, hey, you know what? I'm an artificial life form. I can go forever and a day on my batteries. Why don't you send me down and I can try to fix this? And they wait again another 11 days. The planet comes back, and I thought, oh, it's a Borg thing. No, it's not. Isaac actually did very little. They actually come, and since they're so advanced, they can beam. So the ship pops up, and I thought they were going to dock or something. And I half thought, oh, they hailed the Orville, and Alara goes, hey, we got a message coming in, Captain. And it's just like, oh, okay, sure. And they want to come aboard. Okay. And instead of, I thought it was going to be a shuttle dock thing, nope, they beam in, Isaac and two representatives of the planet. We're like, what happened? Well, Isaac did come down. He was, it was a little bit scary at first, but no. But he didn't do anything. We just evolved this way. So this is how evolution goes. Like I guess there was a little bit of a message about this is what happens when religion gets out of hand, which we know. But the happy end of the story was that Kelly didn't really mess up the planet, even though that little part in the beginning, they actually grew out of it like other people. So sort of saying in 700 years, we grew out of religion, we became more advanced, and everything is cool. You didn't really cause anything. And even if you hadn't done what you did, Kelly, we might have found some other, guy. We may have all hailed George or George the God, or pick a name. That still might have happened. There might have still been Spanish Inquisitions and people being hung in the name of whoever the deity of the day was. That was like nicely tied up in a bow. And then of course we got the end scene. We end off with Ed having a drink, and Kelly comes up to him. Oh yeah, I missed out too. In between all this too, we're coming back into the marriage. The only thing is, instead of harping on the marriage, they sort of worked it out. So they've gotten past that point, and Ed's like, yeah, maybe because of that thing, you want to hang out. So in between the episode two, while they're waiting, since they've got all this time in their hand waiting for the Planetos to come back, Ed says, why don't we just go on a date? Why don't we get back together again? Even though we know it's a big mistake now, let's work with that. So they do. But the punchline of all that too, even they did all that, and Kelly sort of told Ed, says like, you know what, I think we should stick it to a business relationship. You're the captain, I'm the first officer. We really shouldn't date. We shouldn't get back together because you lied to the Admiralty. You almost lost your job. And I thought she was actually going to turn in her stripes and just like, or ask for a transfer to another ship. But she said like, you know what, I want to stay on the ship, but we got to keep it professional. We can't do that. And that was the end of the episode, which I thought was like the last 3 episodes. Everything just kind of ended. The actual ending of how the planet turned out, that was really cool. I thought, great. But then it was just like, dead note. Should just be friends, working friends, and not boyfriend, girlfriend. The end of the season. And the same like with the one with Alara, where you find out later it was a holograph that she was on, and everyone's like, no, this is what happened. It's just like, that's a flat ending. And the same with Lamar becoming chief engineer. Where was Yaphet coming back with his argument and that kind of thing? It was just like, oh, no, it stopped that. But, explanation of this too, because I did catch an interview of Seth MacFarlane on the Seth Meyers talk show, and they were talking about doing the show, and he mentioned a little bit about hiring Norm Macdonald, and he actually does a pretty good Norm Macdonald voice as well, hiring him to play Yaphet. And he said, well, we could get more of him, but CGI does cost a lot, so that explains why, probably budgetarily, why we really can't have Yaphet as the chief engineer, even though he made the big stink in the middle of the last episode. It was easier to just make Lamar the chief engineer because you're filming a person as opposed to, okay, now every week we got to go over budget just to do CGI of more Yaphet, or they can just cut to the engineering every so often, because in this episode too, that was another weird thing with this episode too. We've only got one helmsman, Gordon, but we got multiple navigators. And then when the one navigator, I forgot, oh no, that was what it was. Gordon manned the shuttle. So they said, oh, get Lamar up here to man the helm. But throughout the episode, there was at least 2, maybe 3 women, at least 2, that were on the navigational side where Lamar used to sit. So we've got interchangeable helmsmen, con people, whatever that position is called in Orville, but we only got 1 helmsman on the entire ship. Like, what happens if they do shift changes or stuff? That's weird too. So overall, not a bad episode. Still a few odd moments of humor. Like there was one where Ed was talking to the Admiral and he thought he closed the channel. And she said, that was an order. And he goes, well, I guess that's an order. It's like, what? Oh, nothing. I thought out. Yeah, some of the jokes in the show up to date are still kind of awkward. I think if they're going to do, like I said so many times before too, you're going to do comedy, do it straight. I'm quoting Galaxy Quest all the time because that is true. Like if I tell a joke, I'm not like, hey, I'm looking at it for laughs. I just say stuff that's funny, in my opinion, anyway. Or if I'm joking with friends, we're just joking about stuff. But it's not like, oh, I better say something here to make people laugh. Laughter is normally natural. You tell a joke, you poke fun at a friend or whatever. You don't just like, oh, I better do this now. So again, what did you guys think? Did you like it? Are you sad to see it go? I know a lot of people are going to be jonesing, like, oh my God, my oral flex. I got to wait till next year what I'm going to do. And leave your comments below. And with my video, did you like it? Did you not like it? Remember, don't forget, hit subscribe, ring the little bell to get more of notifications. And again, tomorrow night will be S.H.I.E.L.D. And we'll carry on from there. And we'll see you then.